Education of the Future by Natalia Alvarez. The most important key technologies used for teaching, learning, and creative inquiry within the next 5 years are Bring Your Own Device, Flipped Classroom, and Marker Spaces. Bring Your Own Device. Bring Your Own Technology refers to the practice of people bringing their own laptops, tablets, smartphones, or their mobile devices with them to the learning or work environment. Although today students already bring their devices to school, schools need to work on developing more consistent policies that support the use of these devices for educational purposes. There are three main reasons to believe that Bring Your Own Device will have more importance in the next 5 years. Bring Your Own Device increases in productivity and efficiency. Bring Your Own Device is less about the device and more about the personalized content that users have loaded onto them. Bring Your Own Device policies have been shown to reduce overall technology spending. Most students bring their own devices, and those who cannot afford them can use the school supplies. In addition to reduce the technology spending, Bring Your Own Device has increased the level of productivity. In most of the cases, devices are already populated with productivity apps such as iTunes, Skype, YouTube, etc. Students have instant access to more resources to gain a better understanding of the subjects at hand. When talking about language learning field, there are many resources to help students improve their language skills in and out of the classroom. They can also use these apps to be more organized and keep track of their academic responsibilities. Bring Your Own Device movement is enabling students to learn using the technology with which they are already familiar and comfortable. Furthermore, instructors can ask students to engage in interactive activities during class. Students are also able to share documents with each other more easily through the Dropbox or Google Drives. Bring Your Own Device also reflects the contemporary lifestyle. Today, students use their devices all the time, everywhere. They are entering the classroom with their own devices, which they use to connect with other people or for entertainment. However, many schools still need to create the conditions for student-centered learning to take place. Bring Your Own Device reinforces the idea that learning can happen anytime, anywhere. For many years, schools have worked hard to keep students' cell phones out of the classroom. However, allowing students to use their devices in school for educational purposes promote the idea that learning can happen anytime, anywhere. Flipped classroom. The flipped classroom refers to a model of learning that rearranges how time is spent both in and out of class to shift the ownership of learning from the educators to the students. In the flipped classroom, class time is devoted for discussion and project-based learning, where students work together to gain a deeper understanding of the subject. Rather than the instructor using class time to dispense information, each student can do that work after class through narrated presentations, video tutorials, listening to podcasts, using websites. The flipped classroom model will improve the way that language learning and teaching occurs. The students will optimize the classroom time by accessing the online tools and resources anytime they need them. In the world language classroom, students can watch the grammar tutorials at home as many times they want, and then use the classroom time to speak in the target language to interact with each other. Teachers can devote more time to interacting with each individual and developing more meaningful learning material and scenarios, while students can actually apply what they learned. Marker spaces. Marker spaces are places where anyone can exercise their ingenuity to construct tangible products. I think that the next 5 years, schools will work towards the implementation of marketplaces to facilitate activities that inspire confidence in young learners and will help them acquire entrepreneurial skills that are immediately applicable in the real world. For example, students could develop language immersion experience by creating authentic learning scenarios or realistic places as restaurants or foreign language clubs. They could also routinely create media as websites, blogs, social groups, and exhibit it for real audiences. The trends that I expect to have a significant impact on teaching, learning, and creative inquiry are rethinking how schools work, increasing of collaborative learning approach. Rethinking how schools work. There is a focused movement to reinvent the traditional classroom paradigm and rearrange the entire school practice. The traditional method in which students move from one class to another does not present knowledge as a multidisciplinary event. I think that for the next 5 years, schools develop more contemporary approaches that create the application of technology and foster innovative designs of school models that link each class and subject matter to another. There will be more flexible schedules to allow opportunities for authentic learning to take place and sample room for independent study. Rethinking how school work implies different approach to assessment around creativity. For instance, rather than asking a student for grammatical forms, they can be evaluated in terms of performance. Furthermore, the role of teachers would be more as mentors, guide, and facilitator rather than content presented. Increasing of collaborative learning approach. Collaborative learning, which refers to students or teachers working together in peer-to-peer or group activities, is based on the perspective that learning is a social construct. This learning approach involves activities that are focused around four main principles: placing the learning at the center, emphasizing interaction and doing working in groups, and developing solutions to real-world problems. In the next 5 years, this trend will increase the focus on online global collaboration, where contemporary digital tools are used to engage with each other around the world to support curricular objectives and intercultural understanding. For example, in the world language classroom, students will use technology to engage in more meaningful activities to connect to the speakers of the language they are learning, so they can have an authentic learning experience. Also, according to the National Education Association, cooperative learning also engages active learning because each student is given the opportunity to contribute in a group setting while claiming ownership of the material. Collaborative learning approaches are also seen as a way to increase global collaboration where geographically dispersed educators, classrooms, schools, and other learning spaces using technology. Teachers can collaborate through learning networks and social media to share students' voices as well as their own perspectives on various global issues. The key to these approaches is redefining the roles of students and teachers in the classroom so that they become more connected to concerns outside of the classroom. The key challenges that I see related to teaching, learning, or creative inquiry in the next 5 years are integrating technology in teacher education and personalizing learning. Integrating technology in teacher education. Schools should be providing ways for students to continue to engage in learning activities, formal and informal, beyond the traditional school day. The New Teacher Project recently published a paper about how the move to online and blended learning models is changing traditional functions of teachers, particularly teacher training and teacher evaluation as two critical areas that need to be reconceptualized. One of the challenges consists on providing teachers with professional programs that integrate technology to foster the role of future teachers as a researcher and developer, integrator, and guide. Teachers' responsibilities would include designing instructional approaches and material that reflect students' needs, sharing the ideas with colleagues, and using technologies to adjust students' pathways. Personalizing learning. While there is a demand for personalized learning, it is not adequately supported by current technology or practices. Student-centered learning is driving the development of new technologies that provide more options and allow for differentiated instruction. The goal of personalized learning is to create opportunities for learners to decide how and when they learn. Students receiving differentiated support would be assessed based on their own learning needs and the learning outcomes or are the application and creation of knowledge. This concludes the presentation. Thank you for your time.